Hello, everybody, and welcome to my self-help channel. Quick disclaimer, none of this is mental advice, medical advice, or anything like that. Please check with your doctor, medical, or mental health professional first, but this is a topic near and dear to my heart and something that I've struggled with and worked on and have been working on for many, many years under the guidance of a great therapist, and that is boundaries. Establishing healthy boundaries with people, how to do it, when's not enough, and when is too much, and more importantly, something for you to consider, or something you might want to consider, which is, why is it so hard for me to figure this out? Why am I so confused by boundaries? Why don't I know when to say something, when not to say anything, when to let it slide, when not to let it slide? Such an interesting thing, because there are people who don't have this problem that so many of us do, where they're just kind of naturals. It just kind of makes sense to them how to spar with people a little bit. I'm not talking physically necessarily, although it might come to that. That's a type of boundary drawing, right? Physical confrontation at the deepest levels of personal defense. But on the more superficial levels, it's just very confusing to some of us. And I definitely was one of those people, and it's something I'm still working on. So I'm happy to talk to you about it. And maybe there is some things I've learned that could be of benefit to you. So one exercise that will be incredibly valuable to you, and I highly encourage everybody to do it, is to keep your journal going. I like a digital journal. I like to type, but I also write. So write down the last instance where you felt really badly, maybe angry afterwards, or find yourself ruminating on a boundary violation. Somebody got under your skin, somebody did something to you that you wish you had said something, did something, drawn the line with them, and here you are. Maybe it's the first time or the 100th time that this person or this situation made you feel really badly afterwards, but in the moment, you let them get away with it. They got away with murder again, okay? And put that as a bullet point in your journal entry. And then try to go back as far as you can and establish a rough chronological order of instances in which you remember feeling this way, going back into your childhood as early as you can. When I did this exercise, I found that it followed a very logical progression and followed a very perfect crossfade of feeling this way as a child, being disrespected, having my boundaries violated, being rejected and ridiculed by my father, other people in my family. If you've listened to my channel long enough, I have this horribly smothering Oedipal mother who did not respect my boundaries. My therapist has called it emotional incest. Equally toxic, really bad stuff, because all these things sabotage your autonomy as a person, your sense of ego, your sense of self. And your sense of self, with how you feel about things, establishes your boundaries, and you're more in touch with your feelings. And you're willing, then, you have the confidence to defend that ego against intrusions. At any level. Could be sarcasm, you might give it back to someone, you might say no thank you in as many words and in many different ways as that may come out. Please don't talk to me that way, or this is a place of business. I'm not going to be teased like that every day I come to work. Or you might insult them back to get them to back off, or if someone's physically pushing you around, do you feel that? My therapist calls it that shot of adrenaline, that feeling of internalized defensive anger that you should feel in the moment, not afterwards, but in the moment, when you need to defend yourself, and then use your adult level intellect and your reason so that you don't overstep and go too far and be the jerk that overreacted and that went too far. And if you have issues like this, the likelihood of underreacting or overreacting are very high, right? You're kind of dysregulated in this way. And I think the reason for that is because many times, if you've had this type of boundary violation, right, assuming that you've done the work, and I'm going back to the journaling, the chronological life history and the journaling exercise, where you find how far back does this issue really go? Where does it stem from? How did you parlay the systems and the relationship dynamics that you had with your parents, your siblings, your childhood friends? How did you parlay the hurt emotions and the fears of abandonment and such that you had back then into your adult life, where at one time it was a survival need that you have, and now you're living out and acting out in this wounded child type of place, when that's not the case anymore. Now you're an adult and you have autonomy and you have power, the power to walk away, the power to end friendships and walk away from toxic girlfriends and toxic boyfriends, or even you could even cut your parents off if you had to. Again, and I've made this point many times. It's a foundational necessity. I've coached mainly men, but a lot of women. You comment on my channel as well. Very grateful for all of you. And you have this toxic family dynamic and you're an adult. Well, it's very mission critical that you establish financial independence for yourself, because you can't really draw boundaries unless you have the ability to walk, ask people to leave or leave their house and go to your place. And it's just very important, because when you need people to take care of you, when you need to live in the mother's bedroom, or you need to live off your father's money or whatever it is, there are people who will take advantage of that will feel entitled to boss you around, criticize, say what they want. So you're not really an adult. When are you an adult? Our culture says 18. Is that really true? Well, legally it's true. But when is it spiritually true? Well, it's spiritually true when you are independent financially, even in the most humble of ways. And if you have roommates, if you're in your 20s and you have roommates, I found in your 20s it's actually a fun time to have roommates. You don't have these needs to have all of your own space at that age, and you guys can party, hang out, have fun. And it's not expensive to do in that situation, but you need to get out from the cycle of dependency and the cycle of neediness and the inherent boundary violations that come along with those kinds of contracts, right? So what happens? Let me see if this defines you. Dr. Robert Glover, he wrote this great book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. Applies to women as well, I think, but it's aimed at men. So what he found in his practice, he's a therapist, is that men who were doormats, who believed, they'd swear on a stack of Bibles, and they believed that they were these great people, were in fact not these great people, that they gave to get, that they have these overly polite, overly compliant, people-pleasing attitudes that did not result in the kind of benefits and positive relationships or sexual interest from women, romantic interest or girlfriends that they thought it would give them. And they were very resentful. And to quote his book directly, nice guys are full of rage. So nice guys are not all that nice. Nice guys, people who are too polite, people pleasers, they feel a sense of fear. They have a sense of anxiety in the moment with other people and go immediately into the subservient role. And then later, when they're in their, I hate to use the term, but safe spaces, when they're on their own, when it's long gone, when it's later that night or a week later or a month later or whenever, the memory comes up of when they feel they were intruded on, their boundaries were intruded on, and the rage comes out. This is really what is going on here, is almost like a split personality kind of a dynamic. That rage, that anger, that's the way you really feel about the situation, about the boundary violation that you have probably quite unconsciously repressed. You took that anger, you took how you really feel about it, and you tucked it away and you buried it, probably because in your past, going back into your childhood family systems, you did not get the feeling like you were entitled to have boundaries, that you could express your anger, and that would have been respected, that you as a sovereign soul, as a sovereign individual, were not going to be respected, or worse, you were going to be punished, abandoned, You got rewards, emotional rewards, food rewards, whatever, promises of being taken care of forever if you would just dissolve the boundaries that you really needed to establish yourself as an autonomous human being. So this is what needs to be healed, right? There's an imbalance here. You're acting like two people. This is the same person. Neither of them represent the whole picture of the real you. The people pleaser goes along to get along because there's a wound there. There's an acting out of a wounded child dynamic, an emotional space that you're going into when people say and do things and you disassociate from how you really feel. You don't really feel anything. You just nervously, laugh and go along with someone who's insulting you. Let someone touch you inappropriately. Let people talk about you that in ways you don't like. And then when the threat of the immediacy, when the anxiety subsides, then the pendulum swings in this other direction, in this equally unbalanced direction, and the rage monster comes out. And you find the rage and the anger leaking out. You find yourself ruminating and rehearsing. Why do doormats rehearse the anger, rehearse and ruminate and rehearse and rehearse? It's an attempt to process the real feelings that you have about that, and it's an attempt to tell yourself that you are giving yourself permission to feel this way. That is it okay? Is it not okay? And if you're really far gone, if you're really, really far gone with this nice guy, nice girl crap, you morally believe it's wrong to even feel those feelings. We're not talking about violent crime here. We're not talking about acting it out in some illegal or inappropriate way. We're talking about just feeling the feelings of anger toward people in the moment and then responding appropriately. And there was something going on. I don't know you personally. I'm not a therapist. Something to talk to your therapist about perhaps is there was something that happened where you felt that you were a bad boy or a bad girl to have a thought and an emotional structure of your own, on your own, and to enforce those boundaries and have this felt sense of ego. You can be offended. You can get angry. You can have a little bit of attitude about it. You can mock your enemies. You can give it back to your enemies. You don't have to just stand there and be nice to everyone. When was this a moral virtue? Be nice to everyone. My mother used to do stuff like this. You didn't care how I felt about myself. I had no self-esteem at all growing up. Got picked on all the time. But the finger wagging I got from my toxic Oedipal mother was, you got to be nice to everyone, Devin. You got to be nice. You got to say it nicely. What's wrong with that? Well, what if people aren't nice to you? Can you be not so nice back to them so that they feel that hurt a little bit and it gets them to back off a little bit? And in the overall spiritual aspect of things, there's some major issues with some of you. It was with me, where people without this felt sense of ego and boundaries might even make the grave error, the grave mistake in believing that they're somehow enlightened or somehow they're more spiritually evolved than everybody else. Because after all, look at all these mean people. These people are playing dominance games with me. They're trying to boss me around. They feel entitled to boss me around. I feel like a doormat, but I don't do that to other people. And I could never say anything rude to anyone. So maybe I'm, on the road to being the next Dalai Lama or something. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but maybe I'm just this spiritually evolved person. And the New Age community, which is near and dear to me as well. There's a lot of things that I love about it, but it contains a lot of misinterpretations and misunderstandings by Westerners with concepts like ego death and overcoming the ego and dissolving. You're a drop and you're dissolving into the ocean. And they apply this to this Western understanding of ego, sense of self, and think, well, maybe this is a good thing. Just be a total pacifist and let people walk all over you. And again, the grave error, really the death sentence in this is assuming that you are somehow morally superior. So now look at the conundrum that you've created for yourself. You're Mr. Nice Guy. You're a complete and total doormat. People are walking all over you. You can't manage relationships. It always seems to happen, right? That when you look at this kind of Sigma male phenomenon that's going on, these guys who are kind of in this quiet, lonely place of desperation, and it's normal and natural for us to kind of rub and bump into each other's boundaries occasionally, even in a joking way, even in this sarcastic way. I was tortured and tormented with sarcasm growing up, so I never understood it as an adult. It always struck me as insulting or rude. Why are people so, socially unevolved? But anyway, you can't really be socially successful unless you can assert yourself in this way across the full spectrum of boundary enforcement and responding to violations. And there's the sarcasm is kind of the iron fist in the velvet glove. It's just kind of sparring with people, right? And people enjoy that. It's a game that people play, and it lets people know that hey, we exist to each other, and we're willing to play the game, and we're willing to test each other's boundaries. We're not just taking everything on the chin. We're not taking everything everybody says personally to the heart, and we're not being injured. We can stick up for ourselves, and people are more accepting and more relaxed around people who can play the game rather than feeling that they have to tiptoe around you all the time. But people who I am thoroughly convinced that people who struggle in this area, they're not in touch with their own feelings in the moment, right? You got to defer it for a personal rage attack that you have looking in the mirror in the bathroom or in the shower or ruminating, right? This is the result of trauma. This is the result of abuse. And this is something that I've had to come to terms with. I think everybody thinks that their own family system, their own upbringing was just normal because really, well, how could you know anything else? You're a little kid. But the truth of the matter is there are some parents out there who do raise their kids to have self-esteem, who do encourage their kids to develop an ego, honor and recognize the ego of their children as unique souls on this earth, and to stick up for themselves. This came up in parenting magazines from experts. Hey, my kid got punched in the arm on the playground. What should he do? He should go punch that other kid in the arm. Say, hey, this is how it feels, and then they won't do it anymore, right? So one thing that is critical here is to really write down and really examine, well, what am I afraid of as an adult? Where is my power? Do I need other people? Am I going to die if I don't have this relationship? Am I lying to myself? Am I coming from a place of this? You feel the emotions. You feel when the boundary violation comes up, but when you act out, are you acting out from the adult in you, which is the unemotional? This is the term that my therapist uses, the adult in you, which states things very matter-of-factly, that reports on your feelings but doesn't act out on your feelings. Say, hey, if you're gonna talk to me like that, there's cooler people I can hang out with, or there's better things I can do, and know that you can leave. This is probably, I think, one of the biggest gripes that I have about family systems as an adult, which you're gonna roll your eyes and you're gonna cringe when I bring this up. But what is the gripe of every adult? You've graduated, you're an adult, and the people in your life, typically your family, your extended relatives, parents, whatever, what do? They keep the same crap going like you never grew up, and they feel entitled. I'm kind of down on family in a lot of ways. I know it's kind of sad, but that's my own colored experience. That my opinions on that, my feelings about family. The nuclear family, it's been shaded by my experience. But the thing to teach these people is that they're not entitled, and the boundary might not be respected. So the next step of healing is recognizing that you can limit your contact with these people. You can get in the car and leave. You can block people on your phone. At different times in my life, I've blocked either or both parents on my phone multiple times. On my email, still in for some relatives, because of letters that they've written me and the sense of entitlement that they have. Where as you change, the dynamics between you and the people around you need to change. And the ultimate wounded child feeling is this fear of abandonment, where it literally was life or death. You had to adopt, and you had to contort your personality in order to fit in with the family system. Otherwise, as a child, you literally would be abandoned and you could very possibly die. Acting that out as an adult is dysfunctional, right? As John Bradshaw would say, it doesn't work. Dysfunctional means it doesn't work. And not only does it not work, but it's not true. If it is true for you, you have to make it not true. You need a career. You need something. You need to be on your own to the point where you can make that true. And every relationship in your life is a voluntary arrangement between free agents. When it comes to being effective interpersonally and drawing boundaries, you have to ask yourself, is this relationship something that I want to give the person the opportunity at preserving? Because when we overreact, that's not the case. When we overreact, there's this lack of the, as my therapist again says, the adult in you, the lack of that self-monitoring capability, where you ask yourself, well, how do I want to negotiate this? Is this relationship salvageable? It's just, again, the pendulum swinging between extremes. I'm going to let myself be a doormat, or I'm going to blow my lid at this person and vent all this emotion at this person and totally disregard that, not even give them the benefit of the doubt. If it's the first time you're drawing the boundary, chances are you're going to want to give the person the benefit of the doubt, because they might not know. They might think that you're okay with it. They might think you think it's funny. You've probably trained them that you're okay with it. They never knew you weren't okay with it. Unless it's really obvious, unless you got a bully on the schoolyard who's pushing you and touching you, then they delight in it being inappropriate. You might want to jettison the relationship, but being effective means that you are very unemotionally and very diplomatically letting the person know, okay, well, here's the thing, I really am not okay with it. I apologize if I led you to believe otherwise, but I'm insulted by this. I'm offended by this. I don't want this to continue. So it's over now. And, you can soften it. Like, I like you, love you. I want to help you out, whatever it is. But that's got to stop now. And you're giving that person the opportunity to modify their behavior if they want to maintain the relationship with you. And that might be yes or that might be no. And if you're coming from a position of power, which you as an adult have, means you're willing to take either one of those. If you're coming from this place where I couldn't possibly cut off my, mother-in-law or whoever, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, then you have no teeth. You have no follow-through. You do have to be willing. This is like a matter of your integrity as a person, your core principles. Say, all right, well, and I've done this actually. Going back to, I have this lifelong interest in the martial arts, and I think it's kind of funny. The Master Ken comedian, who is in very many ways, he is a parody of the asshole martial art, egomaniac, narcissistic martial arts instructor, which was a rampant. It was just a disease that was rampant through the martial arts community in the 80s and the 90s, when I was really coming up in it in the 90s, early to mid 90s. It was like, people had to believe they were joining some cult, and you had some narcissistic cult leader at the head of it. And I'm glad that a lot of that is toned down as people have grown hip to it, that this martial arts school as personality cult is ridiculous. Anyway, that's what the Master Ken comedian guy is riffing on. And a guy very much like this, who I got my black belt from, and I think I studied throughout my whole teens and got my black belt from him in Kenpo when I was 23 years old. Years and years and years later, I wanted to move to Arizona. And I still kept up with him and on Facebook and whatever, texts, email, and this martial arts instructor of mine. So now I was pushing 40 years old. I was about 37 years old at that time, and he let me stay at his house. And as I was moving to Arizona, then I got my own place, and we'd hang out occasionally. And he would rag on me a little bit too much. The guy was a total braggart and a narcissist, and I just kind of listened to him talk about himself and make up tall tales. They're probably 50% of the tall tales were true. And I just, okay, that's fine. I just kind of listen or laugh. But that wasn't enough for him. He'd have to one down me in a cruel way. And I let him know once to say, hey, I didn't enjoy that. He apologized. And okay, so case dismissed if it's the first offense. But then sure enough, month later or so, I'm hanging out with him. He does it again. And that was it for me. Blocked him everywhere. Blocked him on LinkedIn, Facebook, phone, email. And we're done. That's it. I haven't spoken to him. I haven't spoken to him in 6 years, probably since then. So that's what I mean. If you're not willing to do that with anyone and everyone, then you can't really have any intent behind the boundaries that you're expressing with people. Even if you want to maintain the relationship with someone, there's no one on this earth that you need so badly that, if you're so needy emotionally, which is another mental emotional health problem that you might want to examine with your therapist, which is, if you can't live without someone, you can't really draw boundaries. You're just banging your head against the brick wall, hoping to change that person because you're not viewing it from the right perspective. The perspective has to be, well, I do want the relationship to last, and I can only bring 50% of that equation to the table. 50% of the equation is, I do want the relationship with you, but this is what I need from you in order for you to do that. And I'm assuming you want that, and I'm hoping that you're able and willing to change your behavior in order for me to feel good, because it can't just be you feeling good about the relationship and me being your doormat, victim, whatever. But they may or they may not want to play ball with that. No, you're too sensitive. No, I'm not. No, we're divine. What are all the tricks of the narcissist, right? Defining your reality. No, I didn't do that. No, I didn't say that. Attacking. You're too sensitive. Everything I say is fine. Well, you just let them know you're not okay with it. So what are they trying? What's the bill of goods that person, the you're too sensitive accuser, trying to sell you on is, okay, so what, you're going to keep doing it? I need to accept this. Your version of reality, and what, you're entitled to keep doing it. I just told you that I don't like it. So actually, that is a clear indicator that you're too sensitive response is a clear indicator that they have no respect for you. They have their perspective on it. They can keep that perspective on it. You just let them know this is how you feel about it, and they're letting you know, no, I disagree, and I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm entitled to a relationship with you so that, ergo, I can keep doing it. So knowing full and well that as badly as you might want this to work out, the other person might not play ball or might not respect you, are you ready, able, and willing to jettison that person from your life? And if you do that, you will attract other people in your life because you know what you're worth and you know how you need to be treated by other people. So give me a like and a subscribe if you would, please, and let me know how you've been dealing with this problem in the comments below. And God bless you. Have a great day.